What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'll be talking about the Ellen Romancing Festival banner that brings 5 different characters from RomaSaGa 3. Usually summoning on banners with 5 limited units has big value, but here we have characters with some ups and downs and I will be talking about them, starting with Ellen. She's a damage dealer and we have so many versions of Ellen in the game. The toppest one is a platinum, the second one is platinum as well, then the third one was limited for Valentine's, then we got the first limited, call it this pack is heavy, then the second limited was before the Abyss Gate, then we got the summer one, call it Do I Stand Out, then there was an S limited style with 1 AoE attack, and finally this version of Ellen called I'll Handle It. I guess that the best way to compare then is to compare with this Do I Stand Out and before the Abyss Gate. We can compare them now. So the STR status is much higher. With 114% we are reaching close to the max value for global right now. That is 116%. The endurance is never high. Ellen is always a fragile character. Her dexterity is 78%, a little above the normal 70% for most characters. Her agility is 85%, beating all of the other status. And then her intelligence is now 81%. She was buffed in global because she's also instant killer attacker. Then her will is, well, not good. Love and charisma are pretty bad as well. So let's give a look on Ellen. We have here 1 arrow for STR, double arrows for agility. She gets bonuses for both status, and they are her central of focus. Her agility is not so bad if you want her to perform as an instant killer, but could be even better. So with a higher focus on STR, you can see that she is suffering from defensive status. She could have had a change in something else, but because she needed intelligence, she had to sacrifice something. And if you want to find STR, the highest value can be found on either the summer style or the pack is heavy style. Now for passives we have Reinvigorate 1 STR. When landing an attack, increases her STR by 15% and recovers 1 BP. Only if the attack lands. Well, this is one of the best passives in the current game because we have forged weapons that increases damage passives by a lot, so buffing status matters more than just a single damage passive. We can also compare this to her summer style. She had something similar, but she buffs 20% when landing an attack without getting the BP, so this one is superior even if you just lose 5%. Then the second passive is called Strengthened Iron Wall 2. When attack damage will be reduced by only 10%. Her endurance and will are pretty bad, so it kinda helps, but not that much. And then she starts the fight with 12 VP. This is important because of her cycle, so we'll talk more about that later. Then the last passive, High Weak Tension, increases her damage by 20% at all times and then increases it further by 15% when hitting a weak target, 35% then. So in the end, she attacks and buffs STR, gets 1 BP back, reduces damage by 10%, starts the fight with 12 and get as much as 35% increase in damage. And now just comparing to her past style, she gets much more than what we had in the past. Look, 35 already reaches the same potential as Weak Point Focus 3 plus Fired Up 5. And she capped the STR buff, has much higher STR, so yeah, this is the definitive version of Ellen. Now for skills we have Quick Spin. This one is an amazing attack. For only 1 BP you will do deep power slash damage with 13 mod. 13 mod is already reaching close to C power, and she buffs her STR by up to 25% on max level. So when you attack with Quick Spin, you are buffing by Reinvigorate 1 and then buffing again with Quick Spin, reaching 40% STR. So if you keep using this, you can decide when you want to nuke and save 3 BP when using, because yeah, she gets 4 BP a turn. Then the second attack is Dimensional Break, and this is changing in global. Now it is only 7 BP for a B power attack that uses slash damage. But not only that, it's already strong by itself because she starts with 12, can be used twice in a row, she can inflict unconsciousness. So, instant Q. 81% intelligence may not seem so high, but I have to present you something that we have been using for a while, and that is Albert. This version of Albert here has 40% intelligence, and we make him work. We can make him farm in story mode and instant kill targets that have no resistance. So now Ellen can do the same. There's only one problem. You can instant kill on wave 1 and then on wave 2 as well, but she cannot do it again on wave 3 because she lacks only 1 BP. Because of the changes they made to her, she does not start with 13 BP anymore. In JP she started with 13, but Dimensional Break was 8, so it was not possible the same way. Here I can think about in the future, if you get a character that buffs BP on start of the fight, she will be able to. But then you are bringing 2 styles to farm, so it's not a 4 training setup. But it works when you need, and there are stages and story modes that won't have all enemies instant killable anyway, so you can bring another character to kill that wave and she kills 2 by instant kill. And even if she does not instant kill, the damage here is pretty nice. Many of the AoE attackers that will survive in the current meta have a need of at least high C power or B power and twice in a row to stay relevant. So Dimensional Break makes her relevant in 2 different scenarios, for instant kill and just for pure damage as well. We can compare this to a character like, let's say, Rick. Rick is being used for his S3, Flame Frenzy, but you can also just use his Mirage Blade plus twice in a row, and he deals enough damage and helps when farming 2 waves. That is also similar to the case with Saruin, but Saruin is stronger on this regard because it's A power. But just for comparison, it will help her stay relevant. Now the last attack is Deadly Spin. For 12 BP you have a single target attack that deals slash and blunt damage with 4S power. Yeah, Deadly Spin is amazing. Not just that, but because you have Quick Spin, you can stack BP and STR and then unleash Deadly Spin when you are ready. So because you start with 12 BP, you can open with Quick Spin on turn 1, then on turn 2 again. Then you have 18 BP, just use Deadly Spin. Turn 4 you resume to Quick Spin again, and then on turn 5 you're gonna use Deadly Spin once more, this time with the highest potential. But in 5 turns you did Quick Spin 3 times and Deadly Spin 2 times with a very high damage output since you have been buffing STR many times. On turn 5 she reaches max potential because of stacking buffs. So for single target, Ellen has a perfect cycle. She's just going to use Deadly Spin and then Kick Spin. This will lead to very high damage. If you want to go for AoE, you can go with Dimensional Break twice, and then you will have to use 1 Quick Spin and then revert to Dimensional Break on turn 4. This breaks if you want to farm 3 waves. The only other way is to bring Arc Slash that has been upgraded for Arc Slash Plus. But this comes from unlimited S style, not everyone will have access to. But still, this is a very nice character. Many events only have 2 waves, so double Dimensional Break leads her to be a very good AoE farmer anyway. So AoE, single target in a single package, and farming and bossing on the same time, because when you want very high damage you can bring her for boss fights. They are pretty long, but with just one problem: very low endurance and will. You need to bring her in defensive strategies or else she will easily die, or maybe against enemies that use slash attacks. Since she has a natural base resistance to slash, it will not suffer so much if you want to bring her in content where she's already weak to. So a very good use of Ellen is to bring her in fights that can be decided pretty fast, like 5 turns or a little more than that. Stack your BP and your STR buffs, nuke once, then on turn 5 you probably have Overdrive, nuke together with your party, and try to decide the fight as fast as possible. If the fight prolongs too much, she may take too much damage, I don't know, but still work depending on the squad setup. Just some small considerations in the end. Deadly Spin is very powerful, but it will still not beat Leon turn 1 damage. because Leon already has a chase mechanic aligned with him. It will also not beat Young Gustav slash damage potential, usually will not beat Rufus as well as turn 1, although she kinda gets a little close to them, but even with all her buffs, she cannot beat Leon. No one can, but she can be used as a secondary damage dealer if you are needing some help. And because Ellen is an axe wielder, she will help many people having struggles in Remembrance battle. She can just stack and slowly kill bosses much faster than many other options you have. And because of versatility too, she's gonna receive a double S tier and stay a little higher than the middle in our tier list. But even then, Ellen is not a must-have character. Slash is plenty, and there are other characters that operate similarly already in the game, some that will come. So if you don't feel like you want to use her dimensional break, or if you don't have gens, it's just okay to skip and wait for another character. And in the future we'll get a version of Ellen that's a martial artist attacker that deals blunt damage, focus on STR and agility, can also use her X skills if you want, but has a mechanic that depends on getting BP with attacks and passives to use stronger attacks. The next character is Mikhail, and there are 7 different versions of Mikhail in the game. This A style is limited, this second one is platinum, third one is platinum. Now, from the top we have a platinum style and then 3 limited ones. This one was released on the start of the game, kinda. Then we got a Global X that's still pretty relevant, to be honest, and then the current, call it Trusting My Back to You. We'll be comparing this one to the Global X because I know many people have him. He's still relevant, a strong attacker with heal capabilities and made for long fights. We have a little less endurance when compared to the Global X style, much higher dexterity, going for 115% now. His agility goes even higher. It was already pretty high on 99, now it's 108%. His intelligence is lower with 34% because he does not have an instant kill attack. And then his will is much higher on 84%. Love and charisma are bad and won't matter too much. Okay, so let's open this Mikhail. He goes with arrows for dexterity and agility, double arrows for agility and 1 arrow for dexterity. You can find 2 sources of dexterity to increase, either the summer style or the other one, this one here that was limited. Those will give you the highest values for dexterity. And if you look closely, his endurance and will are not so good, but also not so bad. The thing is, Mikhail can be used in boss fights, but may need some extra help. He does not have any damage reduction passive. First of all, we have passive called Forestall 3 Dexterity. This one is pretty unique. It will increase your action order by medium effect. That makes Mikhail go before most people, already very high agility, and this will just make him go first. There is a reason why this exists, but in my opinion is a flawed one, because they could just give him a fast attack to begin with, and the second value is increasing his dexterity by 20% on the start of a round. So that means that on turn 5 this is gone forever, and it's not so good for long fights, but for farming it's okay. Then we have the second passive, and this one is amazing. It's called Power Spread 1 STR and Dexterity. When landing an attack, he will increase all surviving allies STR and Dexterity by 5%. Yeah, when he is attacking, he is buffing everyone for 5%. I know 5% may seem low, right? But I have to remind you that characters like, for example, Human, Female, UDX style has passives like Mastery 1, where she gets 5% STR and 5% agility on the start of a turn. So Mikhail can slowly increase the power of the whole party. And this is better than some passives that increases damage of the party by 5%, for example, because, like I just said, forged weapons already have a lot of power, and increasing status is better. Because he buffs STR and Dexterity, this will increase the accuracy of many attackers while also increasing the damage of them. The only other character that is capable of doing something similar is the next version of Time Lord. He will do 4 different status even. When he attacks, he buffs everyone's agility and intelligence by 5%. This is a better combination for mages because it will increase their speed, their accuracy, and their damage. Another application of Power Spread is that when you have a character that has a chance to trigger buff, let's say 25% like Barthélemy, and you don't get it to trigger again in the next 4 turns, the decay reaches 0 and then it will disappear. But because Mikhail is buffing the status to keep it going, it will not have the same type of decay. When you reach turn 5, you'll be able to still have something going and it will reset the counter. So Power Spread 1 has utility, and because it buffs the whole party, it's something pretty good. Then the last one is fired up 6, increasing damage by 30%, and it's his only damage passive. But again, because we live in the Weapon Forge meta, this is not something so bad. He already buffs his dexterity. When you are using him for farming, the damage will be good enough. For boss fights, he may be lacking. Yes, because he does not buff as much for himself. He's more about helping the team work better than just being a real nuker. Now for skills, we have Instant Pierce. With 3 BP we have an AoE attack with D power and 10 mod. That is just a little extra than a normal attack. Instant Pierce is an inferior version of an attack that Xeno has access to. Xeno has access to a double element attack that was buffed in global to be only 3 BP. It's E power, but it doesn't matter. It's much better to have double element than just one element. Especially because Mikhail has sun damage in his second attack. So Great Cross is an attack that hits 2 times with pierce and sun damage, with C power and 15 mod. I can tell that this is pretty similar to an attack that we got with Monica, another pierce attacker. And with this version of her, we have 100 Lotus, a little stronger, but 7 BP coast. The damage won't be that much different, and it reaches double S potential when you calculate the full damage after attacking. Now for the last skill, we have All Charge. This one is an AoE attack with 10 BP coast, but also 2 LP. That means he only used this twice in a fight. But it deals AoE damage with A power 34 mod and hits for both pierce and slash, so covering 2 fronts. There is added effect. When the attack hits, it will grant morale down medium to the enemies. That decreases the damage that they apply to your characters by 25%. Is a way to mitigate the damage, but only 1 turn. And then he will also grant all surviving allies morale up very large for 1 turn. This increases damage by 40%. It may not seem so high now that we have weapons that increases 80% by themselves, but it may still be used for a nuke strategist when you need a little extra damage, since he already deals damage by himself. Well, there are other characters with huge morale up buffs, and the central one is Barbara. We have Flamenco Barbara, and she uses 11 BP to give morale up to the party, but this one lasts for 2 turns and increases damage by 50%. So you need to plan ahead and decide when you have the best attacks available, probably on overdrive, to use this. Since he has a very high agility, most of the time he will just use this before everyone else, but it's not a guarantee. So that is why I say that why did they give this force stall to Mikhail? That increases his action order. Why not just make All Charge a fast attack? It already loses 2 LP to do that. It's a very high risk, but they decided to do this. I don't know why. That's why I feel like Mikhail is a little strange. Even though he has an interesting passive, he just tried to cover too many fronts, and that hurts the overall scheme when you want him to do just one thing well. And when you want him to do damage in boss fights, he will be lacking, because he's helping the party do more damage instead of just buffing himself. And then when you reach like overdrive, his damage is not as high as it could have been. We can even compare him to this version, the Global X style, that keeps buffing dexterity, so he just waits till it's buffed many times, and then he uses quadruple pierce for a lot of damage. We'll never reach the damage of this one that has lower dexterity, for example, but instead he trades this type of resources to help the party, so that they do more damage alongside him. As for inheritance, the best one comes from his Global X style, quadruple pierce. This one can be used as a nuke attack on overdrive, or also to heal him when you don't want to use a healer. For 90 BP you hit 4 times and heal 4 times as well, for an average of 600 HP heal. Not only that, but Quadruple Pierce is also used so that you can change the cycle of your all charge. You can inherit Quadruple Pierce, and he will try to use that attack instead of all charge, increase all charge to 11, and then he's going to use all charge on wave number 2. And let's say you use it someone like Arthur on the first wave, he uses his best attack, killed all enemies, and then on the second wave he only has a weaker attack, but Mikhail is going to attack and buff his damage because of Morale Up, allowing you to use those two characters to farm stage by themselves. Oh, and another inheritance comes from his first limited style, Light Speed, that can be amplified in Light Speed Plus, because he has insane agility, 108%. So buffing his agility every turn, while also buffing everyone else's STR and Dexterity, can help him. He will be evading many attacks by himself. There is also Noble Cross Plus, but I don't think this one matters. It has even lower power. It's just because of the sun damage instead of going for slash. But still, I do believe that this character is self-sustainable. You don't really need inheritance to make him perform, but he's more focused on AoE than single target. If you are going for a boss, even if he's attacking for AoE, he can still be used against a single boss, since the main mechanic here is to increase your damage and survive a little better because of the morale down. This character will receive a double S grade on our tier list, will be kind of on the middle. It's not a top tier character because it's a little more niche in usage, although a very good character nonetheless. But even after saying all of this, Mikhail offers different strategies, right? But they are not determinant to clear content. If you don't feel like you need what Mikhail offers, he's also a good character that can be skipped. Now let's talk about Sarah, and it's pretty hard to be a Sarah fan in this game because there are 6 styles and all of them are limited. The S style was limited, then we got the first and second styles pretty close to each other, they are pretty old. Then we got Band Together, a style that can heal but is also very old. Then we got Doors to the Future. This one is still relevant, it can debuff Dexterity and can evade and counter. And then we are getting the current, called it I'll Finish This. So I will be comparing these two styles because they are recent. We have much higher endurance now, 85% beats all her past styles because she's actually a support unit. Her dexterity is lower just because of the same reason. Her agility is also lower. Her intelligence is only 51 because she's not a debuffer. Her will is 90%, so you can see she's more focused on surviving. Her love and charisma are a little inferior, but nothing that changes much. When looking on the status, you see that she is focused on dexterity and will. Those status will get bonuses and arrows as well. With that said, she's made for boss fights, so she's not that bad when taking hits. Now for passives, the first one is called Close Quarters. We have seen this before. It has a 37% chance to grant 2 buffs. One is defensive, the other one is offensive. We can see it here that it will increase your damage by 10% and decrease the damage you receive by 15%. But 37% chance to trigger, it's actually once every 3 turns on average. It's pretty unreliable, and it's something we saw even on a Platinum style Arthur Dalton, as you can see it here. I really don't like this type of passive because it's okay to have a 50% chance to trigger something that it's, I don't know, heal, because heal you see the mediate value, but now you are granting all surviving allies something, and then there's more RNG. Maybe the enemy will only use a single target attack, you know? It has an RNG chance to trigger and an RNG chance to be useful. Now we have Delayed Heal Link. On the end of a turn, she recovers herself and 1 random surviving ally HP by 25% chance, and the value is medium. It's close to 1000, but it can heal herself twice. A character that has something similar is Snowy. He has Heal Link. His one is on the start of a turn, hers is on the end of a turn. Hers is better in my opinion because you will know if you really need to heal on the next turn. When it's on the start of a turn, sometimes you go and heal a specific character that just got healed. So hers is a little better, but still 25% chance, and sometimes she can even heal herself twice. Then we have Fired Up 6 that increases damage by 30% at all times. She's not a damage dealer, so I don't know, yeah, they just wanted to give at least 1 damage passive. Now for skills, the first one is Sun Rapid Volley. For 4 BP you get Pierce and Sun Damage, AoE, D-Power, and 10 Mod. This is just a little extra than a normal attack. And it's inferior, again, to options like Xenon. Because Xenon does that with 3 BP, so he can keep using all the time. Even though there is a small difference in power, it does not matter on this level. The next skill is Arrow of Purity. For 6 BP, we have a support skill that will cleanse all surviving allies and will also buff everyone will by 40%. Well, 40%, it's big, right? Pretty big. Because it's support, it will not be used on auto, so you have to use on manual. But we do have a character that has something similar. Halloween Princess White Rose has Princess Pumpkin's Party. With 8 BP, we cleanse everyone as well. And then we will also buff everyone's endurance, will, love, and charisma by 30%. So 30% against 40%, but more status in a higher cost. She can use this on turn 1 and then again on turn 3. Now about Sarah, she can use it twice in a row. This makes her a little easier to use. And because it's 6 BP, every other turn you will be able to use again. But then I ask, are this the best way to handle the situations? We already have Piano of Peace, and Halloween Princess White Rose is a meta character, right? Matriarch can buff Will all the time with her third style. We have Piano of Peace, and she buffs 30%, and every turn you stack Will a lot. I know that, yeah, some boss fights will require you to buff many times before you can totally ignore status elements, but we can already do this now. With extra help from Princess White Rose, it's easier because she also buffs Will when she gets hit. So I don't know, for veterans with access to Princess White Rose and Matriarch, this does not add too much. There is another character that can also buff Will, and this one is Nadart. But Nadart does that while attacking with much higher cost. Shiverius Assault, it's an 11 BP attack that buffs Will by 40% and deals AoE damage. Because he actually gets 4 BP by a turn, he can use this every 3 turns. So yeah, a longer period to use again. Sarah wins on this, because usually you don't need to hit AoE when you are in a boss fight, hardly ever. So Sarah being able to use more often will help if you lack at least the Piano of Peace from Matriarch or the option from Princess White Rose. But in extreme situations where the enemy tries to inflict like paralyze on turn 1, maybe bringing 3 options together will help you. But I guess it's overkill and you can't do it with just Matriarch and Princess White Rose for now. Now the last attack is called Star Glitter. For 9 BP you get a single target fast attack that deals pierce damage, double S power, and will grant Guard Up Medium to everyone, decreasing damage by 25%. This clashes with Golden Ball Guard Up that is higher, 35 for example. And for the second effect, she will cleanse all status debuffs applied to your party. And this is a first, guys. Not even JP they have a skill that does that. We have characters with passives that can remove with a chance. So there are many battles in this game that has bosses debuffing you. For example, we have Abyssal Naga on the stage 240 from World Tower. He will decrease your love and charisma to stop you from healing. So now you can use Star Glitter, remove your debuffs, and then just heal. So you are fighting against the boss mechanic. There's also some other boss fights like the Abyssal Lords on attacks, and they always debuff at least one status. Like they try to make dexterity inviolable in a fight, they will decrease your dexterity. They may try to debuff your intelligence so that you cannot debuff the boss. This will help you survive this type of strategies, but there's another way to handle those situations as well. You can, for example, bring more buffers to overcome your debuffs. If you are a player with access to White Token, Matriarch, Nawal's Daughter, these characters usually can handle this type of situations, but they could not easily handle Abyssal Naga till White Token was released. Only Nawal's Daughter was not enough. But I don't know how this will be important in the future. The skill by itself is amazing, because it's a guarantee to fix a problem. The character that has access to something similar is Melissa, a limited one. She has a 37% chance to remove all status debuffs, so if you got Melissa, at least you have a character that's very good and can do this with a chance. Or you can use Key, that is not even close as good as Melissa and has access to the same passive. So, well, there are alternatives that will not be as good as Sarah, because Sarah is doing this while she can do damage and give guard up. This is a very good combination. Although I don't like Sarah passives, I don't know why they did this to her. A character with two very good skills and some strange passives that could be so much better. But they chose this route. They could just give her a defense reduction passive instead of giving her fired up, or even remove close quarters and give something that will happen all the time. Now let's talk about something. If you have the past version of Sarah, this version of her gets 1 BP when she attacks and even heal herself. She has much less endurance and will, so this may be a problem, but also has at least something else. 37% chance to trigger a counter attack against direct attacks that gives her plus 3 BP. This may help her have even more BP to get to use Star Glitter more often. But, well, on turn 3 you have 18 BP, so you can start the fight, use Star Glitter, and then use again on turn 3. And after that, you probably will need more BP by another source, like a token for example, or you have to skip one turn sometimes in order to be able to keep using Star Glitter, since it's 9 BP and she only gets 8 BP every 2 turns. But it's something that may work, it just depends on the content, on the difficulty, and you get 2 effects on a single skill. Nothing guarantees that a future release will have this type of status cleanse as well. So remember, Global X Vampire Lady, she came with Rising Nova Plus, but this can also be used by Mystic Acelus and also Rick. Or Dark Wash, that came with Barbara, that can be used by Rouge and Rock Bouquet. So we have 6 options in the game being able to use it right now. Sarah may be the launch of this mechanic, or they can just release Sarah and no one else. We don't know, so it's a risk if you want to go for this type of strategy. But I have to say, JP does not have this. They were able to clear all content, so unless they release some Global X event with some over-tuned boss fights, you will not feel like you cannot clear content without this. And if you are desperate, Key is a off-banner style, so everyone has access to Key with some luck, and she will be able to fix at least this part of the status problem. And one last thing, Sarah will not fix all types of status debuff. I remember in Ludwig fight that he will debuff your status with a delayed attack, so even if she uses this, it's useless, because he will debuff your status and then use a nuke, so nothing can stop that. Only on the next turn you can cleanse, but after that you already took the nuke. So very nice when applicable, not applicable all the time. So in the end, I like Sarah. I like Arrow of Purity, I like Star Glitter, I think she's a very good support unit. The only problem is at least the first passive that could be so much better, but well, it is what it is. But I am not entirely sure how much content will require this version of Sarah, or if they will release another style that has access to Star Glitter or something comparable. As it is, it's a lot of support in a single unit, even though it has some flaws. And if you have the past version of her, it just increases the value even further. So you can think about when you need better BP build or when you need better sustain. And well, if you are missing out on will buffers, she's just a good package. I really think that for the future, Sarah may be even the best character of this banner, because you can get damage with other sources, but support is extremely hard to find. But also I question if you already have Halloween Princess White Rose, iToken, Matriarch 1, Matriarch 3, access to Matriarch 4 with Shield, and many other scenarios where you probably will be able to handle stuff without the need of Sarah. Anyway, it's a bet. If you want to get her because you don't know about the future, it's your choice. Right now she's going to receive a double S grade and be high on our tier list because of that support options. Now the next character is Muse. We have 3 different versions of Muse in the game. The first one Platinum, the second one Platinum but also farmable, and the third one now, I'll wait for your return, the only limited style of Muse. Well, we don't even need to compare because she beats the past styles in everything. Okay, we have a focus on agility and intelligence, and even then the status are not so high. We have 82% for agility, 102% for intelligence, bonuses in arrows for those 2 status. Her endurance and will are not so bad for a mage, especially for a healer, and she does have a little above average love, but nothing so high. Okay, for passives we have Fortified Fortress. She has a 37% chance to negate all damage, but it's not an evasion stance, so she can still be paralyzed or stuff. Second passive is called the Helping Hand. On the start of a turn, and every turn she grants 2 different buffs for anyone in the party, including herself. An attack boost that increases damage by 10%, and a defense boost that decreases damage that you receive by 20%. Both can trigger on different targets. And it's an interesting thing because if she is the only one surviving, it will only trigger on herself, and this will stack. Both types of passives can be active on the same time. This is something that can be found on Cotton, and I know this because people reported during my live stream saying that Muse is used on a Spiral Tower floor number 150 to solo content, and I wonder if Cotton can do as well because he also has the same passive. So Muse is a healer and Cotton can also heal. So I'll see more about this in the future. Then we have Fired Up 6 that increases damage by 30%. Well, she's not exactly a damage dealer. Well, besides this interesting usage, Helping Hand is not reliable. It can sometimes choose Muse to increase the damage, and she's not exactly strong, and also sometimes choose a character that's the best defensive character to receive the damage reduction, so, well, just more RNG in fights. What we needed. For skills we have Aqua Drop Plus. This is an amplifier over an old skill that just became a little better. For 3 BP you get AoE Cold Attack with Deep Power and 11 mod. That's not so high, and it's only cold, nothing so special. Then the second attack is called Aqua Constrict. With 5 VP you get single target cold damage B power 25 mod. It's not bad for the damage in BP Coast, and it also carries a heal. It will heal her for around 1000 HP. That is what you need to solo some content with Muse, I believe. Like I said, I heard about this in my Discord channel in live streams. Then we have the third attack called Frozen Scene. This one is AoE again, B power 24 mod, and it can petrify targets with medium chance. So she can go full cycle for AoE. Only cold damage, but she can open Frozen Scene and use Aqua Drop. But now let's talk about Petrify. We don't have many Petrify inflictors in the game, and medium chance to Petrify with 102% means that Muse will petrify targets that are not resistant with some ease, but she still does not beat someone like Taria, because Taria has into L3, buffing her own intelligence by 20% on the start of a round, and also can buff herself again with 25% chance because of Quickening Magic. Some targets that have resistance to Petrify will be easier to surpass by use of Taria and Arita Petra. Besides Taria, we have other Petrify inflictors like Thomas, but he needs 2 style to perform on premium level. The latest one has only 93% intelligence and also has another chance with Petrificus, a passive that reaches 25% chance to Petrify and the buff Agility, but you need to inherit Petra Delta, and this one can at least be amplified for good damage too. So he does not beat Muse. Muse is better. Another character that can do the same is Narcisse. Narcisse does not buff his intelligence too, so only 90% for Petra Delta plus. The last one that we need to talk is Genie. She was buffed in Global. She now has very high intelligence. We have 105%, and she can amplify and use Petra Delta as well. So all these options can petrify, and I have to say one thing: you only need one. That's right, because they have enough to offer and petrify most targets, with Thomas being the weakest link here because of his low intelligence, but his passive may be even interesting sometimes to offer double chance. But Muse will have higher status for damage, at least she compares better to recent styles. So now that we saw many petrifying flictors, I have to say that you only need one. We don't have to petrify every day, it's a very specific scenario, usually on tower or when we have events like the current Global X one. So some enemies may offer resistance, and like I said, Taria will still beat Muse on these scenarios where you can restart so you can land petrify. But Muse gets pretty close, her agility is better, her endurance and will is as well. Any of them will work. If you don't have Taria, now is your chance to get a good petrifying flictor in the second best after her. Now you can look on her Platinum style for inheritance. She does have other attacks, but they are not so strong. At least Rainstorm has lightning if you're really lacking. She also has a 4 BP heal that buffs endurance and can even give BP if you amplify. Or a cheaper Water of Life with 3 BP. I don't suggest you amplify the other attacks because, to be honest, she's not a character that is used in boss fights. Only when you need Petrify, or if you want to use her for solo on the scenarios I explained it, but I have yet to see. Well, she will only receive a high S grade. She's still a good unit, but not useful all the time, only for some very specific scenarios. Well, let's talk about Black. We have 5 different versions of Black in the game. The first one is an S style that is Platinum, the second one is Platinum 2, the third one is a welfare given out in events, the fourth, Revival of the Legend, was released in Boston and for News Banner, and now I Can Do It Meself, the second limited style. We can compare those two, and the current one is more of a farmer, while Revival of the Legend is a boss specialist, although the status does not show the reality. Here we have higher STR, but we don't buff status when attacking, so on long fights it will do less damage than Revival of the Legend. We do have higher endurance and will, but he's more used on farming, makes no much sense. His dexterity is much lower, he may miss in hard fights, but he's not the best one for hard fights anyway. His agility is 96% because he needs to attack first when farming, and love and charisma really don't matter. We have double arrows for STR, 1 arrow for agility, bonuses for both as well, so yeah, he needs to hit hard, needs to hit fast, and that makes sense. And if you want to get double arrows for agility, you will find on his welfare style. Oh, and I forgot about another version of Black that is actually Herman, only an A style. Well, first passive is called Vital STR. On the start of the round, he buffs all surviving allies STR by 10%. This has been seen in the past with 2 other styles. The first one is Rick, with his latest premium style, and then Young Gustav, UDX, and he's also a farmer. Well, that is only useful there. Then we have the second passive being X Prowess 4. When attacking with axes, damage increases by 20%. And then the third up 6, increasing damage further by 30. So it's a pretty straightforward character. 50% increase in damage, buffs everyone STR by 10%. Okay, now for our skills we have Arc Slash Plus. This is an old skill that appeared first in an S version of Ellen, we talked about in this video, and it's 3 BP D power 12 mod. Still loses for Rick because Rick has a 3 BP attack that has other element, heat, much better. And now we have the second attack called X Wave. This one was changed in global, it's only single target, S power, slash and code, and has a chance to paralyze. Look on the intelligence of this Black, 40%, but is enough to paralyze Real Queen. So yeah, the hardest weapon to use is Axes, in my opinion, even harder than bows. And he is now released with Paralyze to finish Real Queen stage number 20. That is if you'll have other axe users to still do damage and clear the fight, but it's the first character with this skill. We will have other options of Paralyze in the future, like Amplifies and even characters with Paralyze, so you can wait, you don't need to finish and summon for this character just because of this, don't fall for the bait. Then the last attack is called the Pirate Salvo Plus. We have a 10 BP attack with slash and cold damage and 8 power, with critical damage to fish and aquatic. This is actually strong enough for the coast. We usually don't have 10 BP attacks with double elements and even critical. So in JP's 11, here is 10, just so that he can't open with this attack, because they changed his third passive. He actually starts with 11 BP on JP, and here they did something. They removed the 11 BP and reduced the Pirate Salvo from 11 to 10, so that he does not require 11. But this broke this guy. He cannot use X-Wave twice in a row. He cannot import this attack called X-Volley and use it twice in a row. So I don't know if this is actually something good. I would prefer to lose 10% in damage and get 1 BP on the start and be able to use different cycles, but then they just did this because whatever. This guy's not even made for boss fights, so X-Wave's not, it's kinda off redundant anyway. So, well, if you wanna use him for farm, it's pretty straightforward. You use Pirate Salvo and then you use Arc Slash, but you lose the cold damage on the second wave and beyond, leaving him only as a slash damage dealer. And as a slash damage dealer, he is not better than Young Gustav. And as a multi-elemental attacker, he's not better than Rick. So losing two characters that got released beforehand. But now what makes me sad is when I look on his past limited style that is much better on Remembrance. Well, he has a passive that heals around 150 and buffs his STR when he attacks, then 37% chance to recover BP and heal. So those things are pretty nice when you are on Remembrance. Not just that, he has Ki, something that gives Morale up and Guard up for free. And then Vertical Cross, an attack that hits Column and Row. So Column will hit the termites, and he will also buff himself twice and heal twice. So much better to use this version instead. Maybe you just inherit the X-Wave attack to paralyze the termites, but keep using the past style, but that is only if you have it. If you don't have, well, nothing can be done. You're just going to use this version of Black for farming and for Remembrance battle once. Well, for Inheritance there's not much to say. His past style has Vertical Cross, but it deals more damage on the second hit with this style than the current one. And there is at least one thing that you can inherit, Dynamic Shock Plus. If you want to amplify, don't do it. You can use that on turn 1 and then X-Wave on turn 3, but it does not work on auto, so why would you do so? In my opinion, just stick to using him for AoE, and this guy will only receive an S grade if it was not for his high status, full cycle and good passives. He's just too straightforward without offering anything special after so many slash damage dealers like Rick, Saruin, Gustav, and many others. But he will still receive a double S grade and be on the bottom tier. He will be demoted pretty soon. It's just because on the current game he still has some usages, stronger than many other in the past. But not by much, and that's why I don't recommend you go for Black. He doesn't have a good future. And one extra point, there's no future version of Black so far in JP, so he is all about what you see now and nothing else, at least till this point. Now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? Well, it's not exactly a bad banner. We have 5 limited styles here, so you have good chances of getting something if you summon. I will be giving this a silver award. It's the first 5 people banner that I give a silver award, and there's a reason why. I'll scroll up here and let me tell you, Ellen is a good damage dealer, strong character now with a good attack that can instant kill. She can use it on boss fights, may not be so sustainable, but works. And we need more X users for Remembrance. Pretty okay. Then we have Mikhail, does offer support to nuke and keep buffs going. A good AoE specialist, but does not beat his Global X style in full damage cycle. And then we have Sarah, a character with some interesting support, exclusive skill where she can cleanse the status debuffs and can also buff Will to help in future strategies. But besides those 3 that I still consider on premium level, we have Muse, a character that is only used here and there. And Black, a character that's totally underwhelming. Going for a PD will only be for the first 3 styles if you are a fan of them, but if you don't get them, you are also not missing too much besides maybe Sarah, because of exclusivity of that skill. So I will summon and see what I get, but I'm not planning to pity. Also, there's other banners going, and we got pretty powerful styles in the future. You may just be happy with what you have and wait for new announcements before you decide to pull. For newcomers, this is a very good moment to summon, more value to you. But for veterans, proceed with caution. But that is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment. Have you summoned for the styles? What do you think of that? I want to know. And please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.